Part 1. The Birth of Pakistan, 1947-1958. Imagine this: a midnight train packed with dreams and drenched in blood. A leader, frail in health, but stronger than mountains. A country born with no money, no army, no capital, and yet it survived. But how? And what hidden deals were made? That shaped Pakistan's very first decade. The answers are not what you think. It was midnight, August 14th, 1947. The clock struck 12 and two new nations were born, India and Pakistan. But while India inherited institutions, capitals, and resources, Pakistan inherited chaos. And yet, the people believed. This is the story of Pakistan's first decade. A decade of survival, of sacrifices, of conspiracies, and of dreams still unfinished. The Partition tragedy. The creation of Pakistan came at a terrible cost. 15 million people migrated, the largest migration in human history. Trains arrived, not with passengers, but with bodies. Villages burned. Families vanished. Over 1 million lives were lost. Among the chaos, hidden stories of courage appeared. Doctors who worked for free, day and night, treating refugees in makeshift tents, volunteers who dug graves for strangers, women who crossed borders with nothing except children in their arms. History remembers leaders, but the real foundation of Pakistan was laid by ordinary people. A country without resources at independence. Pakistan had almost nothing. No capital city. No central bank, no proper army headquarters. The Reserve Bank of India delayed Pakistan's funds. What was promised, 750 million rupees, was held back. Only a fraction arrived weeks later. For salaries of government officers, Pakistan borrowed from private businessmen. The army, too, was divided. Officers had to choose between India and Pakistan. Equipment was scarce. Even typewriters and paper were in shortage. And yet somehow offices opened, schools started. A new currency was printed, step by step. Pakistan stood on its feet. Jinnah, the father of the nation. Muhammad Ali Jinnah was the guiding force. He was already sick. Tuberculosis was eating him inside, but he hid it to keep the nation strong. He worked long hours, traveled in the summer heat. Even when his body begged for rest, he gave his famous speech to the Constituent Assembly, promising freedom of religion, promising equal rights, a vision many forgot. Soon after, Jinnah died on September 11th, 1948. His ambulance broke down on the way to hospital. He lay for hours waiting for help. The father of the nation died helpless, a cruel symbol of Pakistan's fragile beginnings. Liaquat Ali Khan, the first prime minister after Jinnah, power passed to Liaquat Ali Khan. Loyal to Jinnah, simple in lifestyle, but faced with impossible challenges. He introduced the Objectives Resolution in 1949. It became the foundation of Pakistan's ideology. Democracy within the framework of Islam. Some welcomed it, others opposed it. This divide, the Kashmir War, 1947, barely months after independence. War came, Kashmir's Maharaja hesitated. Tribesmen entered. India sent troops. Pakistan supported fighters secretly. The first Indo-Pak War had begun. By 1949, a UN-brokered ceasefire drew a line. The line of control, a wound that still bleeds today. But back then, Pakistan felt betrayed. The promise of Kashmir remained unfinished. Assassination of Liaquat Ali Khan, October 16, 1951. Company Bagh, Rawalpindi. Liaquat Ali Khan stood before a crowd. A shot was fired. He collapsed. The assassin was caught, but killed instantly. No trial, no answers. Why was Liaquat killed? Who was behind it? Was it foreign hands or internal politics? The truth never came out, and Pakistan lost its second founding father. Political instability after Liaquat, chaos began. Prime ministers came and went. Khawaja Nazimuddin, Muhammad Ali Bogra, Chaudhry Muhammad Ali, Hussein Shahed Suhrawardi. One government fell, another rose, then fell again. Conspiracies, corruption, and power struggles dominated. The people lost faith, and in the shadows, another power grew stronger, the military, making of the Constitution. For years, Pakistan had no constitution. Only the Government of India Act 1935. Debates raged. Should it be Islamic? Should it be secular? Should East Pakistan get equal representation? In 1956, finally, Pakistan had its first constitution. It declared Pakistan an Islamic republic. Democracy seemed possible, but it was too late. Corruption had spread, institutions were weak, and in the barracks, the generals were waiting. 1958, the fall of democracy. October 1958. President Iskander Mirza declared martial law, but the real power lay with the army chief, General Ayub Khan. Within days, Ayub Khan sent Mirza into exile. The first military coup had taken place. Pakistan's experiment with democracy ended before it could truly begin. The decade of hope ended with the rise of the army. But this was only the beginning, because Ayub Khan would bring more than order. He would bring a new system, a new economy, and a new foreign policy. Pakistan would shine with dams, industries, and alliances. But behind the shine, cracks would appear. East Pakistan would rise in anger, and whispers of war with India would return. In part 2, we uncover the rise and fall of Ayub Khan. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Part 2, the rise and fall of Ayub Khan, 1958-1971. An army general steps in with promises of order. A country broken by weak leaders suddenly finds strength. Dams rise, industries grow. Foreign powers shake hands. Pakistan shines. But behind the shine, cracks widen. A war is fought. A peace deal angers the people. And in the east, a storm begins to rise. This is the story of Ayub Khan. This part will cover Ayub's coup and his vision, his reforms, economy boom, green revolution, dams, foreign relations with USA, USSR, China, 1965, war with India, student movements, protests, Tashkent Declaration, the fall of Ayub Khan, Yahya Khan's takeover and cracks leading toward East Pakistan crisis. 1958, democracy collapses. The army takes control. General Ayub Khan becomes the first military ruler of Pakistan. He promises discipline, progress, and a new beginning. For many, this was hope. For others, this was the death of democracy. Ayub Khan's reforms. Ayub introduced a system called basic democracies, local councils who elected the president. He said it was true democracy, closer to the people, but critics called it controlled democracy. Still, Pakistan saw change. Roads were built, industries grew, new cities like Islamabad were planned, and for the first time, Pakistan felt stable. The Green Revolution. Ayub focused on agriculture. He introduced modern farming techniques, tube wells, not fertilizers, better seeds. This was called the Green Revolution. Wheat production doubled, rice exports increased. Pakistan became self-sufficient in food. The world praised Ayub. Pakistan was called a model of development. But behind the numbers, small farmers suffered. Big landlords grew richer. Inequality spread. The great dams. 2 great dams were built, Mangla and Tarbela, gifts of the Indus Waters Treaty, signed in 1960 with India. The World Bank brokered the deal. Pakistan got control of western rivers. India got eastern rivers. The dams changed Pakistan's landscape, electricity, irrigation. But critics said, Pakistan gave away too much. and the seeds of future water disputes were planted. Foreign policy, balancing powers. Ayub Khan made Pakistan a key ally of the United States. American aid flowed in, military equipment. Economic help. Pakistan became part of SEATO and CENTO alliances. At the same time, Ayub opened ties with China, a rare balance between two rivals. But relations with the Soviet Union soured, and this would matter soon. The 1965 war. In 1965, tensions with India exploded. Operation Gibraltar was launched. Pakistani fighters entered Kashmir. India responded with full force. The war spread across Punjab and Sindh. People of Pakistan showed unity. Ordinary citizens donated blood, money, even jewelry. Songs of war filled the airwaves. But on the battlefield, the war ended in a stalemate. Both sides claimed victory. Both sides lost lives. The war ended with the Tashkent Agreement in 1966, mediated by the Soviet Union, signed by Ayub Khan and Indian Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri. The people of Pakistan were furious. They expected victory. They saw compromise. Ayub Khan's popularity cracked. The fall of Ayub Khan after 1965. Ayub's strength began to fade. Student protests erupted. Workers went on strike. Prices rose. Inequality became visible. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, once Ayub's foreign minister, turned against him. He became the voice of the people, shouting slogans of Roti Kapra Makan. By 1969, Ayub Khan lost control. He resigned and handed power to another general, Yahya Khan. Yahya Khan's rule. Yahya promised free elections. He ended the system of basic democracies. He prepared for Pakistan's first general elections in 1970. But in the East, anger was growing. Decades of neglect, economic disparity, and lack of political voice. The storm was rising, and soon it would break Pakistan apart. In 1970, Pakistan held its first general election. But the results shocked the nation. One man from East Pakistan won a clear majority. Yet power was denied. The streets of Dhaka burned. The army marched in, and the world watched as Pakistan faced its darkest year. In Part 3, we uncover the truth behind the 1971 war and the fall of East Pakistan. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Part 3. The Fall of East Pakistan and the Rise of Bhutto, 1971-1977. An election was held, and Pakistan was supposed to unite. Instead, it broke. One man won the majority. But power was denied. The army moved in. The people of East Pakistan rebelled. India joined the war. And in just 13 days, Pakistan was torn in two. But from the ashes, a new leader rose. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, loved, hated, remembered. This is the story of 1971. This chapter is emotional, tragic, and politically dramatic. It covers 1970 elections and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's victory, West Pakistan's refusal to transfer power, Operation Searchlight and Dhaka tragedy, India's intervention in 1971 war, fall of Dhaka and creation of Bangladesh, Bhutto's rise, Simla Agreement, and reforms. The seeds of Bhutto's downfall, 1970. For the first time, Pakistan prepared for a general election. President Yahya Khan promised, the people will decide their future. Excitement filled the air. Parties campaigned, posters were everywhere, and hopes were high. The election of 1970, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, leader of the Awami League in East Pakistan, won a sweeping victory, 160 out of 162 East Pakistan seats. He had an overall majority in the National Assembly. According to democracy, Mujib should become prime minister. But in West Pakistan, leaders refused. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto said, "Udar tum idar hum." You rule there, We rule here. The dream of unity was broken. Operation Searchlight, March 1971. Talks failed. Tension grew. The Pakistan Army launched Operation Searchlight in Dhaka. Universities attacked, students targeted. Thousands killed in days. The crackdown turned anger into rebellion. Mujib was arrested, but his voice grew louder across the world. The 1971 war India saw its chance. Millions of refugees crossed into India. India trained Mukti Bahini fighters. On December 3rd, war began. Pakistan fought bravely, but the odds were impossible. On December 16, 1971, General Niazi surrendered in Dhaka. Over 90,000 soldiers became prisoners of war. East Pakistan was no more. A new country was born, Bangladesh. For Pakistan, it was the darkest day, a wound that still bleeds. Bhutto's rise after the fall, Yahya Khan resigned. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto took charge, first as president, then as prime minister. Bhutto promised a new Pakistan. He signed the Simla Agreement in 1972 with India, securing the release of prisoners of war and recognizing the line of control in Kashmir. At home, he introduced reforms. Nationalized industries, gave land reforms, spoke of roti, kapra, makan, bread, clothing, shelter. For the poor, he was a hero. For the elite, he was a threat. Bhutto's bold moves, Bhutto rebuilt Pakistan's confidence. He launched Pakistan's nuclear program after India's 1974 test. He hosted the Islamic summit in Lahore, bringing Muslim leaders together. Pakistan felt strong again, but Bhutto's style was authoritarian. Opposition leaders were jailed, critics silenced, and slowly, discontent grew. The 1977 crisis. By 1977, elections were held again. Bhutto's party won, but the opposition cried foul. Accusations of rigging spread. Protests erupted across the country. Streets filled with angry crowds. Religious parties united against him. And in the shadows, another general was waiting, General Zia-ul-Haq. July 1977, Bhutto was celebrating victory. But that very night, tanks rolled into Islamabad. General Zia-ul-Haq seized power. Bhutto was arrested. A trial began, and Pakistan entered its most controversial chapter. In Part 4, we uncover Zia's Islamization, Bhutto's tragic fate, and the rise of jihad. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Part 4, Zia-ul-Haq Era, 1977-1988. A prime minister celebrates victory. But that very night, tanks roll into the capital. A general promises elections in 90 days. But he rules for 11 years. In those years, a leader is hanged. The law is reshaped. The Afghan War begins. Billions flow in from America and Saudi Arabia. And Pakistan changes forever. This is the story of Zia-ul-Haq. This chapter is filled with controversy, religion, jihad, Cold War politics, and Bhutto's tragic end. It covers Zia's coup and Bhutto's trial, the execution of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, martial law, censorship, and Islamization policies, Afghan Jihad against the Soviet Union, CIA and Saudi involvement, the rise of militancy and madrasas, General Zia's mysterious plane crash in 1988. July 5, 1977, Pakistan was celebrating. Bhutto claimed victory in elections, but in the middle of the night, the army moved. General Zia-ul-Haq seized power. He called it Operation Fair Play. Bhutto was arrested. Martial law was declared. The trial of Bhutto, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, was charged with conspiracy to murder. The trial was controversial. Many said it was political, not legal. International leaders appealed for mercy, but Zia was determined. On April 4, 1979, Bhutto was hanged. The man who gave Pakistan its nuclear program, its 1973 constitution, was gone. For some, Bhutto was a tyrant. For others, a martyr. But one thing was certain: Pakistan would never be the same again. Zia's martial law. Zia promised elections in 90 days, but days became years. For 11 years, he ruled. Political parties were banned. Opposition leaders jailed. Journalists flogged publicly. Censorship was everywhere. State television showed prayers, Quran recitations, and sermons. A new identity was being built. Islamization policies. Zia introduced hudud ordinances, public punishments, whipping, amputations, alcohol banned, women forced to follow stricter laws. Critics called it the Talibanization of Pakistan. Supporters said it brought morality, but in truth, it divided the society. Religion and politics became inseparable. The Afghan Jihad in 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. For America, but it was the Cold War. For Zia, it was an opportunity. Billions of dollars flowed from the United States and Saudi Arabia. Weapons, training, and money, all funneled through Pakistan. Mujahideen fighters were trained in tribal areas. Madrasas produced holy warriors. The war raged for a decade. By the late 1980s, the Soviets were bleeding. The world called it a victory. But Pakistan was left with millions of Afghan refugees and thousands of armed militants. The rise of militancy Kalashnikov culture spread. Drugs and weapons flooded the streets. Sectarian groups grew stronger. Jihad became a business. Pakistan was praised abroad, but inside, it was burning. Zia's absolute power in 1984. Zia held a referendum. The question was strange. It asked if people supported Islamization. If yes, Zia stays as president. The results? Overwhelming yes, but many knew it was far from free or fair. In 1985, elections were held on a non-party basis. Mohammad Khan Yunejo became prime minister, but Zia kept all real power. In 1988, Yunejo was dismissed. Zia was untouchable, or so it seemed. The plane crash, 1988. August 17, 1988. Zia boarded a C-130 plane in Bahawalpur. With him were top generals and the American ambassador. Minutes after takeoff, the plane crashed. Everyone died. The cause? Still a mystery. Some say sabotage. Some say mechanical failure. Some whisper foreign hands. After 11 years, the Zia era ended suddenly. After Zia's death, Pakistan turned back to democracy. Benazir Bhutto, the daughter of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, returned from exile. She became the first woman prime minister in the Muslim world. But democracy was fragile. Corruption, conspiracies, and power struggles filled the 1990s. Two leaders would dominate this era: Benazir Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif. In Part 5, we uncover Pakistan's decade of democracy and instability. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. The return to democracy, 1988-1990. The period began with a sense of optimism following the end of military rule under General Zia-ul-Haq, whose passing in 1988 opened the door for democratic elections. Benazir Bhutto, daughter of the executed former Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, returned from exile to lead her party to victory. At 35, she became the first female head of government in a Muslim-majority nation, a landmark achievement that brought international acclaim and hope for a new era of civilian rule. Her first term, however, was fraught with challenges. She faced a hostile political establishment, including the presidency, the military, and intelligence agencies, all of which had been powerful under the previous regime. Her government attempted social reforms, but it was continuously undermined by allegations of corruption, primarily centered around her husband, Asif Ali Zardari. These accusations, though never fully proven in a court of law, were used as justification for President Ghulam Ishaq Khan to dismiss her government in 1990 under constitutional powers that were later revoked. The rise and fall of governments, 1990-1996. Following Bhutto's dismissal, Nawaz Sharif, a businessman and politician from Punjab, was elected prime minister. His first government focused on economic liberalization and privatization. He sought to reduce the state's role in the economy and promote business growth, launching major infrastructure projects and attracting foreign investment. However, like his predecessor, he soon found himself in conflict with the president and other state institutions. This power struggle culminated in 1993 with both Sharif and President Yahya Khan being forced to resign, leading to another period of political uncertainty. Benazir Bhutto returned to power for a second term in 1993 with high public expectations. She again pursued social welfare programs and policies aimed at women's empowerment. However, her government continued to face mounting political opposition and corruption allegations. The political landscape was further complicated by increasing urban violence, particularly in Karachi, where ethnic conflict involving the MQM party led to hundreds of deaths. In 1996, her government was once again dismissed, this time by President Farooq Laghari, on charges of mismanagement and corruption, bringing the decade of democracy to a close. Nuclear pride and military confrontation, 1997-1999. In 1997, Nawaz Sharif returned to power with a massive electoral victory. His government passed the 13th Amendment, a significant constitutional reform that stripped the president of the power to unilaterally dismiss the government. This move was intended to secure his position and prevent the kind of political instability that had defined the preceding years. In 1998, a pivotal moment in Pakistan's history occurred. Following India's nuclear weapons tests, Sharif's government faced immense domestic and international pressure. On May 28, 1998, Pakistan conducted its own nuclear tests in the Chaghai Hills of Balochistan. The event, celebrated by the public as Yawm-e-Takbir, or the Day of Greatness, made Pakistan the world's 7th nuclear power. While it was a source of national pride, it also led to severe international sanctions, which further strained the country's fragile economy. Less than a year later, in 1999, the country was drawn into the Kargil War with India. Pakistani soldiers, disguised as militants, secretly crossed the line of control into the Kargil region of Indian-administered Kashmir. The military operation was led by the then Chief of Army Staff, General Pervez Musharraf. The conflict resulted in heavy casualties and brought both nuclear-armed nations to the brink of a full-scale war. Facing intense international pressure, particularly from the U.S., Prime Minister Sharif ordered a withdrawal of Pakistani forces. This decision was seen as a betrayal by the military, creating an irreconcilable rift between the civilian government and the army leadership. The coup of 1999. The simmering tensions between Sharif and Musharraf reached a boiling point on October 12, 1999. While General Musharraf was in the air returning from a trip to Sri Lanka, Prime Minister Sharif attempted to dismiss him. In a preemptive move, the army leadership took control of key state institutions, including the airport, state television, and the Prime Minister's residence. When Musharraf's plane landed safely in Karachi, he was in a position of power, and he promptly placed Sharif under arrest. The bloodless coup brought an end to Sharif's government and to the decade of democratic experiments. Musharraf declared himself chief executive, suspended the constitution, and took control of the country, justifying his actions by citing the need to end corruption and political instability. The 1990s in Pakistan had come full circle, ending just as they began, with the military back in charge. Part 6. Musharraf, War on Terror, Democracy, and Imran Khan, 1999-2025. A general takes power in 1999, but just 2 years later, the world changes forever. September 11, 2001. America's war on terror begins, and Pakistan that becomes the frontline state billions flow in. But so do bombs, assassinations, and chaos. One leader returns and is killed. Another rises and is jailed. And Pakistan still stands, fighting for its future. This is the most intense chapter. The Musharraf coup, 9/11 and war on terror, Benazir's assassination, democratic chaos, Imran Khan's rise and fall, economic crises, floods, and today's Pakistan. Musharraf's coup, October 1999. Pervez Musharraf takes over. He promises stability, accountability, and enlightened moderation. At first, many welcomed him. The economy improved. Media was liberalized. New private TV channels emerged. But then came the moment that changed everything. 9/11 and the War on Terror, September 11, 2001. Twin Towers fall in New York. America declares war. President George Bush gives Musharraf a choice. You are either with us or against us. Musharraf chose to side with America. Pakistan became a frontline state. Billions of dollars in aid poured in, but the cost was heavy. The tribal war and militancy, Pakistan's tribal areas became a battlefield. U.S. drones targeted militants. Suicide bombings rocked cities. The Red Mosque operation in 2007 intensified anger. Terror groups multiplied. Over 70,000 Pakistanis lost their lives in 2 decades of terror. Pakistan earned money but bled in return. The return and assassination of Benazir Bhutto, 2007. Benazir Bhutto returned from exile. She promised democracy again. Crowds welcomed her. But on December 27, 2007, Benazir was assassinated in Rawalpindi. Her death shocked the nation. The streets erupted in violence. For many, hope died that day. Democracy restored. Zardari and Nawaz after Benazir's death. Asif Ali Zardari, her husband, became president. His era saw corruption scandals, weak governance, but also the 18th Amendment, which gave provinces more power. By 2013, Nawaz Sharif returned as prime minister for the 3rd time. He pushed for mega-projects, launched CPEC with China, but soon faced corruption cases after the Panama Papers leak. In 2017, Nawaz Sharif was disqualified. Another prime minister removed. The cycle continued. The rise of Imran Khan. For years, Imran Khan was seen only as a cricketer turned politician. But by 2018, his movement against corruption gained momentum. The slogan was simple, Naya Pakistan. In July 2018, he won. Imran Khan became prime minister. He promised justice, reform, and honesty. At first, there was hope. But the economy struggled, inflation soared. Political opposition grew louder. By 2022, Imran Khan was ousted through a no-confidence vote. He blamed foreign conspiracy. His supporters filled the streets. By 2023, he was jailed. His party weakened, but his popularity still strong. Crises and challenges, 2022-2025. Pakistan faced massive floods in 2022. Millions were displaced, billions lost. The economy fell into crisis. IMF loans became lifelines. Inflation broke records. Political instability worsened. Protests, arrests, and clashes filled the headlines. Yet ordinary Pakistanis continued their struggle. Through poverty, disasters, and uncertainty, they survived. Today, 2025, Pakistan is still standing, stronger in spirit, but divided in politics. Its people, waiting for true stability. The story of Pakistan, from 1947 to today, is one of resilience, of hope against the odds, of leaders who rose and fell, and of a nation still searching for its destiny. 78 years have passed since independence. Pakistan has seen dictators, democrats, assassinations, wars, disasters, and miracles. But the story is not over, because Pakistan's history is still being written, and the next chapter belongs to its people. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.